The door opens without a knock. It never knocks. You are standing at the window. You had been watching the frost form on the inner glass, tracing it with one finger, and now you go still. Not because you are startled, because you have trained yourself out of startling. A woman who flinches draws attention, and attention here is a blade. The maid who enters is not one of yours. She wears the livery of the household, blue and gold. Her eyes do not meet yours. His Majesty will receive you this evening. She sets a gown across the chair, deep crimson, heavier than anything you own, and leaves. You do not move for a long moment. The frost continues to spread across the glass. Outside, the courtyard is white and silent. A dog trots across the cobblestones below, leaving small dark prints. No one else is out. It is February and cold, and you are in a palace, and you are being received. You have been here 8 months. You have learned what that word means. The Palace is Versailles, though no one calls it that the way you once imagined. It is not a word here. It is a world, a city of stone and mirror and ceremony. And you have been given a set of rooms on the second floor of the north wing, close enough to the king's apartments to matter, far enough that the queen's ladies do not have to see you when they walk to mass. You came here from a provincial house with a modest name and a father who understood, as many fathers did, that beauty was a kind of currency, one that expired, and so must be spent quickly. You did not argue. That is the first thing to understand about this life. You did not argue. There is a hierarchy here so intricate it would take years to map it fully, and you are mapping it still, every day, in the way you read a room. Who turns toward you when you enter? Who looks at their gloves? Which duchesses offer you a small, cold smile in which ones look through you entirely, as though you are a chair, or a vase, or a draught from a poorly sealed window? You are not nobility. You were made the marquise of something, a title conjured like a card trick, here and then real, and then hollow. But everyone knows the name you were born with, and the distance between the two is the distance between your life as it is and your life as it was pretended to be. The king is not a monster. That is the second thing to understand. He is, in fact, often kind. He remembers what you have told him. He laughs at your wit, and his laugh is genuine. There are evenings, long, candlelit evenings in the small salon, when you almost forget the architecture of the situation, when it feels like something chosen. Those evenings are the most dangerous. You wait before dawn, not because you wish to, because the rhythms of the palace run on a schedule that predates you by decades and will outlast you by centuries. The king rises at a specific hour. His lever, his waking, is a ceremony attended by dozens, a choreography of robes and basins and murmured formalities, and your own morning must be arranged around it in case you are needed, or in case you are not, and you must be dressed and presentable either way. Your ladies help you with your hair. You have 3 of them now. 2 were assigned to you by the household. One is a girl you brought from home, the only person in this building who knows your actual face. The other 2 are polite and watchful, and report, you are fairly certain, to at least 2 other people. You do not know which 2. You have stopped trying to determine it. You have simply learned to speak, in their presence, only in a register that cannot be used against you. This is what takes the most energy. Not the dressing, not the hours of waiting, not the navigation of who sits where at supper, or whether to walk on this side of the gallery or the other to avoid the glare of a woman whose husband you have, perhaps, eclipsed in the king's affections. The energy goes into management, into the constant, exhausting calibration of your own expression. You are performing always. The role is radiant, warm, amusing, grateful, effortless. Never needy, never afraid, never bored, though the boredom is sometimes so thick you feel it in your teeth. Never sick, though you have been sick twice this winter, and both times you dressed and appeared at the appointed hour, because absence is read as weakness, and weakness, here, is invitation. There are women who came before you. You know their names. You know what happened to them, not through cruelty, particularly, not through scandal or punishment, but through the gradual withdrawal of attention, which is its own kind of exile. A room farther from the king's. Fewer invitations. Then one morning the gown in the chair is not crimson but gray, and it never becomes crimson again. You think about them when you cannot sleep, which is often. The nights you are not with the king, you lie in your bed and listen to the palace breathe. It is never fully quiet. Footsteps in corridors. Distant laughter from somewhere below. The palace is a living thing, always awake, always watching. You pray, sometimes, though you are no longer certain what you are praying for. Safety, perhaps. Time. One more season. It happens in March, when the ice on the canal finally begins to break. You are walking in the gardens. The king's physician has recommended air for a cough you have been concealing when you see her. The woman he spoke to at the supper 2 nights ago. The one who laughed too brightly. The one with the copper hair and the husband who owes the king a favor. She is perhaps 22. You are 29, which in this world is already a kind of arithmetic. You keep walking. You do not change your pace. You nod to her as you pass, the precise, calibrated nod of a woman who is not threatened. And she nods back with a smile that contains an entire conversation neither of you speaks aloud. That evening, the king mentions her name. Casually. In the middle of discussing something else entirely. He is not trying to wound you. He is not even aware that he has. That is, perhaps, the most clarifying thing about this moment. He does not know that you feel it. You smile. You ask a question about the person he has mentioned, something light and interested and utterly devoid of the thing moving through your chest. He answers, pleased. He reaches out and touches your hand. And you sit there, in the candlelight, in the crimson room, in the palace that is not yours, and never was, and you understand, with a finality that settles like cold water, that you never had a self here. You had a position. A position is held until someone holds it better. A position has no history, no fear, no prayers said into a dark ceiling at 2 in the morning. A position simply exists, and then does not, and the palace goes on. The candle gutters. He does not notice. You do not let your face change. The gown is still crimson for now. The maids arrive. The morning comes. You sit at the mirror and you watch a woman arrange herself, powder, pins, the careful architecture of an expression, and for a moment you are not quite sure whether you are looking at her or she is looking at you. You rise. You are ready. You walk to the door and you open it yourself, just the once, just for the small private pleasure of a hand on a handle, and then you step into the corridor. The palace is already moving. Footsteps, voices, the distant sound of a harpsichord from somewhere below. The cold light comes through the windows at the end of the hall, falling in long pale bars across the stone floor. You walk toward it. Behind you, the door swings shut. You do not look back.